They told me it was just an urban legend, some creepypasta passed around on Reddit to scare kids. But legends don't leave you with nightmares so vivid you wake up screaming, or with memories you can't explain because you swear you lived them. I'm not talking about Squidward's suicide or any of those old forum stories you've probably read 100 times. This is something else. Something I found buried on a dusty VHS tape at a thrift store. A SpongeBob episode that never should have existed. I watched it once, and I'll never forget it because since that night, I don't think I've been truly alone in my own home. I wasn't even looking for it. I was just killing time after class, wandering aisles of old movies and forgotten junk. The tape wasn't labeled like the others. No colorful Nickelodeon logo, no bright sticker. Just a strip of white masking tape with SpongeBob Lost scrawled in black marker. My first thought, someone's bootleg fan project, maybe a weird homemade parody. But the more I looked at it, the more I felt this heavy pit in my stomach. Like picking it up was a mistake, so I bought it. $2. I figured it would make a funny watch with friends, or maybe I could post about it online for some cheap Reddit karma. Back at my apartment, I dug out my old VCR. It barely worked. But after a few clicks and a whine of static, the screen flickered on. The Nickelodeon intro never came. No theme song, no cheerful laugh. Just a black screen for nearly a full minute before the image snapped into focus. SpongeBob's Pineapple House. Except it didn't look right. The colors were muted, sickly. The walls looked damp, covered in what I swear was mold. The camera angle wasn't cartoon bright and cheerful, it was tilted, off balance like a documentary crew filming a crime scene. Then SpongeBob walked out. I almost didn't recognize him. His normally huge eyes were sunken, the whites yellowed, like spoiled milk. His body sagged, sponge holes stretched into deep craters. He shuffled instead of bounced, dragging one foot behind him like it was broken. No music played. No laugh track. Just this faint humming noise, like an electrical current buzzing through the speaker's dot at first. I thought maybe it was some weird fan edit, but then he spoke. His voice wasn't Tom Kenny's. It wasn't even a cartoon voice. It was human. A man's voice, flat, exhausted, and so quiet I had to turn up the volume just to catch it. "They're watching me," he whispered. I froze. SpongeBob stared directly at the screen now, directly at me. I can't explain it, but it felt like his gaze pierced through the glass, like he knew I was there. My skin crawled. The episode cut to a shot of Squidward's house. The door was cracked open. Inside, everything was in disarray, broken furniture, shattered glass, stains on the floor that I don't want to believe were blood, a faint sobbing echoed in the background. The camera drifted closer, shaky, like whoever was filming was terrified of being caught. I wanted to shut the tape off. I reached for the remote, but my hand froze halfway, because deep down, I wanted to see what came next. The camera finally panned into Squidward's bedroom. He was lying on the floor, face down, his body limp. The sobbing grew louder, but it wasn't coming from him. It was coming from behind the camera. Whoever or whatever was recording was crying, and then Squidward's head twitched. His body jolted upright in a way that wasn't natural, like his strings were being yanked by invisible hands. His eyes were pure black, no pupils, just endless voids that spread across his entire face. His jaw dropped open far too wide, and when he spoke, his voice rattled through my bones. "He sees you too." The tape glitched, static tearing across the screen. For a split second, I swore I saw my own reflection flash in the static, except my eyes were black voids just like his dot. My heart pounded in my ears. I yanked the tape out of the VCR, fumbling with trembling hands. The buzzing didn't stop. Even with the tape ejected, the TV still hummed. The faint outline of SpongeBob's face burned into the screen like an afterimage, I told myself it was just a corrupted tape. Some messed up fan art project, maybe even one of those internet hoaxes turned physical. But when I checked the VHS itself, there were no tracking numbers, no Nickelodeon branding, not even the usual timestamp you'd find on old recordings. Just black plastic. Like it was never supposed to exist. I shoved it in the back of my closet. That should have been the end of it. But when I went to bed that night, I woke up at 3:17 a.m. to the faint sound of laughter echoing through my apartment. It wasn't cheerful laughter. It was slow, distorted, and gurgling, like it was bubbling up through water. I followed the sound to the living room, and my stomach dropped. The TV was on, even though I'd unplugged it earlier. The tape was back in the VCR, and the screen showed SpongeBob, sitting alone in his dark, rotting house, staring straight at me. Except this time, he was smiling. The smile hasn't left my mind. Wide, unnatural, stretched so far it looked painful, and yet SpongeBob never blinked, never moved, just stared like he was waiting for me to do something. I couldn't breathe. My apartment was silent except for the faint whir of the VCR, but on the screen I swore I heard a wet, squelching sound like something crawling just off camera. I reached for the power cord to rip it from the wall, but before I touched it, SpongeBob finally moved. He leaned closer, his face filling the entire screen, and in that same flat, human voice, he whispered, "Don't turn it off." I yanked the plug anyway. The screen went black, but the reflection staring back at me wasn't mine. Just for a moment, I saw those same black void eyes staring out from the dark glass. I stumbled backward, slamming my hip into the table. The apartment was too quiet, unnaturally so, like all the usual city noise outside had been swallowed. Even the air felt heavy, pressing against my chest. Sleep was impossible after that. I sat up until dawn, staring at the unplugged TV, half convinced I'd see something moving in the reflection again. When the sun finally rose, the normal world returned, cars honking, birds chirping, my neighbor's dog barking like nothing had happened. I almost convinced myself it had just been a nightmare. Almost, but the tape was still there. I should have thrown it out, burned it, but some sick part of me needed answers. Why did it exist? Who recorded it? How did it end up in that thrift store? So the next evening, against every screaming instinct in my body, I slid the tape back into the VCR. This time, there was no hesitation, no black screen. The footage picked up exactly where it had left off, SpongeBob's face inches from the camera. Slowly, he leaned back, still smiling, and behind him, the camera panned to reveal something new. The walls of his house were covered in drawings. Dozens of childlike sketches etched in crayon, all showing the same thing, him, staring through a television screen. The camera lingered on the drawings until one of them seemed to shift. At first, I thought it was my eyes playing tricks on me. But no, the sketches had turned. The crude crayon SpongeBob on the paper twisted to face me, and its tiny, scribbled smile stretched wider and wider. I choked back a scream. The scene cut suddenly to Patrick's house. It was dark. The rock lifted slightly as though someone had pried it open. The camera crawled inside. Patrick wasn't there. Instead, the room was filled with water, not cartoon water, but real, murky, green-black ocean water that seeped into the corners of the frame. Something moved beneath the surface. For a split second, I saw Patrick's star-shaped silhouette floating motionless, his mouth open in a silent scream before the water turned red and the screen cut out. The buzzing returned, louder this time, vibrating through the floorboards. The screen flashed with static, and in the distortion, shapes flickered. Not cartoon characters' faces, human faces. Blurry, grainy, distorted, like security camera footage. And then I saw myself. It was me, sitting on my couch, eyes wide, mouth slightly open, the exact position I was in right then. The footage was live. I stumbled to the TV, slapped the screen, anything to make it stop. But the static only grew, the image of myself warping, stretching, until my eyes in the reflection turned black voids. And then that version of me leaned closer, pressing her face against the inside of the screen, while I stood frozen in front of it. "You're part of the frame now," she whispered. The power went out. My entire apartment plunged into darkness. No hum of the fridge, no buzz of streetlights outside. Just silence. I sat there in the dark for what felt like hours, waiting, listening. When the lights finally flickered back on, the tape was gone. Not just out of the VC, gone completely. The machine was empty. My closet was empty. Even the spot in the thrift store where I'd found it was bare when I checked the next day. Like it had never been there at all. I thought maybe it was over. Maybe whatever cursed thing I'd stumbled on had vanished. But last night, I woke up again at 3:17 a.m. My TV was on, even though the tape no longer existed. The screen glowed faintly, showing static. And behind the static, almost invisible, was that smile. I don't know how long I stood there watching it, paralyzed. But I swear it was getting clearer, closer, like he was pushing through the glass. And if you're watching this, if you've heard my story all the way through, maybe you'll see it too. The next time your screen glitches or your reflection, doesn't blink when you do, because the truth is it was never just a lost episode. It's a message, a warning. And once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. SpongeBob's not trapped in the frame. You are.